Hi, art students. It's time for another week of art. And first, let's do the Godzilla of the week. Okay, so here's how you voted. Um, Batra, Batra came in first for 10 votes. Giant Robo came in second place for 7 votes. And Biollante and Godzilla 54 came in for third at 3 votes each. So this week I'm going to show you Batra. Next week I will show you the second place winner, which is Giant Robo. So no quiz or survey for next time, okay? Because I'm going to have it. Okay, so here's Batra. Batra is similar to Mothra. He's like a kind of a evil Mothra, and he's pretty awesome. This is the Batra larvae. It's kind of like when he's in his worm stage, and he's pretty rad. I forget which movie he's in. I think he's in like I think it was a Godzilla versus Mothra. I think it's like 1993 version. I don't know. There might be a date on this. Anyways, but as a bonus, I'm going to show you the moth version of Batra. So here's the Batra. So this is when he becomes like Mothra, except he's like a bad. He's like evil Mothra, right? And he's pretty cool. This guy has been sitting in a box and he's gotten kind of warped. So it's kind of a bummer, but he's pretty cool. One of these days I'm going to have to take these guys out and repair them. And like, see, he's got a droopy wing. It's like, oh boy. Anyways, that's Batra. That's like flying Batra version. He's pretty cool. All right. So let's get on with the art portion of our project. Hello, fifth graders. Today we're talking about our positive and negative space project. We have 2 weeks to work on this. So don't finish this up in 1 week and turn it in. You got plenty of time to work on this. So spend 2 weeks on this project and then turn it in after that. Now it's due, oh, you can't see it. It's due November 19th. It'll be in your Canvas, but anyways. So 2 weeks to work on it, but I give you a little bit of extra time to finish it up. But we're going to talk about this for 2 weeks. Now, what are our supplies? We have a big black piece of paper, and we got this like small green rectangle, right? And we're going to use this to create our positive and negative space design. Here is an older sample. It's on different color paper. It's on blue. But you can see that, you know, from our square, we're like cutting out these shapes and folding them over like a door. And then we're cutting another little shape and folding that back, right? So, and we can get a lot of real interesting positive and negative space. Positive and negative space is typically black and white, although it could be colors too. So we got like, this is a blue, so we got like a blue and a light green. As long as they're really, you can really tell the difference between the colors or the values, right? And so the question is, what's positive and negative? Typically, I think positive is typically white and black is typically negative, but it can actually switch. It's just they're opposites. So we've got this light versus dark value, and that's what we're going to work on. This is a student sample, and this looks really good. It's a nice one. I gave everybody black though because black gives us a nice it gives us a nice contrast, right? And then here's another student sample. This one is what we want to shoot for. There's a lot of detail. Looks really good. This is definitely an A+ kind of a project. Another thing that I want you to notice is that the shapes go into they go far into the rectangle. They go in. They're not just a little shape on the edge, like, oh, I folded a little shape out. No. It goes far in, and it really fills up. It fills up the whole page. It looks really nice. There's a lot of negative in this other square too. One thing to keep in mind, this is a good thing. Remember how I talked about using? Actually, that was for 6th grade. I talked about using too much glue And what happened is my sixth graders, they ended up not using enough glue. So you don't want to use a lot of glue, but when you're finished, you don't want to use a lot of glue. But if you have little parts like this that are kind of peeling up, then you need a little more glue, right? So if it peels up, you need a little more glue. Let's see, is this one? Most part, oh, here, this one needs a little glue. So just to add a teeny bit more glue, and then you glue that down. But overall, this is pretty good. This student didn't use too much glue, so it looks neat. But if you don't use enough, you add a little more later, right? Otherwise, it'll get kind of destroyed when I put them in my folders and stuff like that, and I'm organizing them. So make sure all your pieces are glued down. Okay. And then finally, well, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, let's just start. I'll just show you. So the first thing, it's funny, my camera is zoomed in so close, you kind of can't see the full paper. But here you can kind of see it. Here are the edges of my paper. And the question is, where do you put this little square? You should put it at an angle, right? Kind of in the middle of your paper. That's kind of the best way to do it. In the middle of your paper, right? It's hard to tell this is in the middle of the paper. But here's the trick. You want to remember where your rectangle, your small green rectangle goes. So you want to mark it with like a pencil. Now the problem is a pencil is going to be hard for you to see on this camera, but I'll just do it. So like what you would do is you would like go on the corners, you would draw like a corner with your pencil, you draw a corner here. Let me see if you can even see it. Yeah, you can kind of see it. Yeah, you can kind of see it actually. But I'm going to use white. But I would add a little bit of a mark here, a little bit of a mark here in the corners. That way, because what's going to happen is we're going to like pick this thing up, and then it's like you're going to cut and you're going to do stuff. Then we're going to put it back down, and then you're like, where do I put it? Well, you'll put it on these corners. Because I'm using a camera, I'm going to use white chalk. You probably don't have white chalk. You can just use pencil. That's fine. But pencil's nice because you can erase it later. But I'm going to use this white chalk so you can see it a little better. If you have white chalk, this is like pastel, like drawing pastel. There, but I did it in that just so you can see it a little better on my screen. So this way, if I pick up my paper and I cut it out or something, I can put it back and I know where it goes. All right. Then I'm gonna grab my scissors. Let's see here. Okay. So step one is, these are different colors, by the way. Check this out. So step one is this. You can now, if it's a simple shape, you probably don't have to draw, but I'm gonna draw mine lightly with pencil. The problem is you don't want to do a hard line because then you'll see the line on your paper. But if it's a simple thing like a big triangle, you can just cut it out even. So you cut it out and you'll fold it over. I'm going to draw mine though, just so you can see it. If you do make a more complicated shape, then you might want to draw it with a pencil, but draw it very lightly because I don't want to see those pencil lines. Okay, so where do we begin? Well, here's my shape. I got a pencil, and I want to draw a shape, and it might be easier to do like an angular shape, but it might be good to actually draw it too, to make a curvy shape or something like that. Now, here's what I don't want you to do. Don't make like a little bitty shape like this, like, okay, here's my shape. There, it's like really tiny. No, no, no. That's like not even big enough. It's like, no. At least not to start with. You want to go into your shape. You want to go pretty far in, almost to the center. Now, it's hard to go to the center of your rectangle every time, but you want to get pretty close. So think big, okay? And don't include like two sides of your paper. Just start with like one side at a time. Let me show you what I mean by that. Like, don't do this. Like, don't do like, there's my shape. And see how it connects to both of those? That makes it confusing. So don't do it like that. You want to go directly, you want to go in and out of one side. So I'm going to start with this side. So I'm going to go in and out on this side. And then on this side, I can go in and out, right? Ooh, blurry. There we go. Okay, first shape. I'm just going to draw it lightly with pencil so you can kind of see what I'm thinking about. So I'm going to do kind of like a spiral. Okay, there it is. All right, so there's kind of like my spiral shape. Notice that I start and I go in and I go out, okay? Then I need to like pick up my paper and cut it out. Now I'm going to use a small scissors. So I got a small scissors, and if you have a big scissors, that's okay. But if you have a smaller scissors at home, that might be easier. And I'm literally just going to cut this thing out. Let's see here. You're just going to cut it out. You want to cut it out neatly. You probably want to go lighter. If you're going to use a line, do it lighter. I did mine a little darker so you can see it. Okay. So I'm cutting it out. You want to cut it out neatly. Okay. So here it is. Okay. So here's my piece. I kind of put it back together. I kind of use those marks to help me. Now think of this as a window or a door that's going to open. So this thing's going to open up like this, and that's where it's going to go. It's going to like connect like that, right? It's going to make like the shape positive and negative space. Okay, and you're like, oh, that's pretty neat. Yeah, it is pretty neat. It's pretty cool. But this is too easy, right? It's too easy to just have one shape folding out. And so what we want to do is we want to have a shape on the inside of this shape to fold back. Okay? So you cut out a nice big shape, you flip it over like a door, and eventually you're going to glue it here, right? But I want another shape in here that's going to flip back. And so I'm just going to draw it lightly. Well, it's going to be darker so that you can see it on the camera, but draw very lightly, okay? So let's see, I want to draw another shape. Let's see, I'm just going to go in and just... The bigger you can get it, the better. So there it is. So I kind of have like another shape to cut out, and then that shape will fold in this way. Okay, so I'm going to cut it out here. Scissors. Gosh, my camera. Sorry if I'm ever off camera. There's like a tripod leg in front of my arm here, so it's like it's difficult. It's such a bummer. It's a bummer for me. You're like, Mr. Smith, why don't you buy a really expensive video recording system with lights for these? It's like, oh boy, I don't have a lot of money. Maybe if we have to do this, like, I hope we go back to school eventually. Okay, so let's see. So I cut out another shape, right? So you can kind of think of it, I mean, you can think of it, it's a little tricky, but once you figure it out, it's not that hard. So I kind of piece them together. So here's my original door, right? So it fit in here and it's going to flip over. So this flips over here, okay? Then I cut out this other piece and this one's going to flip back. And you got to do that with your shapes. And that will kind of connect right here. And there, that maximizes my positive and negative space. And now I want to glue this stuff, okay? You're like, oh boy, what do you glue? Well, I want to glue these pieces, not my big rectangle. Don't glue this thing down because I still need to cut out shapes on this thing. But I do need to glue these things down, okay? So I'm going to get my glue. I'm going to use Elmer's. You could use like a glue stick, but make sure, usually sometimes this stuff isn't enough. So make sure you use a decent amount of glue stick if you use it. If you use Elmer's, make sure you don't use too much. Now the question is, how much is too much? Well, don't glob it on, right? I'll show you. Okay, so first, now I need glue on the other side of this thing. So I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to use some glue. You don't want to use too much glue. Boy, it's hard doing this one-handed. Come on, work. Okay. Let's see if this works. Yep. Okay, so let's see. That's not too much glue. Now, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, that looks like a lot. If it is, here's what you do. You don't want to use much more than this, but you do want to make sure you have some glue. You want to make sure the glue kind of goes to all the little bits, right? But here's what I always recommend to my students. If you're using like an Elmer's glue bottle, you can use the orange tip to kind of smear that glue around. Just kind of smear it around. Just that way it's not like a big globby, you know, big globby part, you know, that will kind of make it wrinkle. So you just kind of blend it around. You want to make sure there. So that's pretty good. So it's kind of nice and not a lot of glue. And then I'm going to glue it down. So, but you keep your original rectangle in place because I want to line it up. So let's see here. There we go. I'm going to kind of press it down. Looks good. Kind of press it down. Try not to get glue all over the place. Neatness really matters. Okay, that's pretty good. So I got that down. Remember, we're not gluing this big rectangle down. All right. So now I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna flip this over. I gotta get some glue. I'm doing it off camera because I don't have a lot of space. Okay, so I got some glue here. It's not too much. I'm gonna kind of spread it around with my orange tip. Okay, looks good. And then this part, it's like, where does it line up? Well, it lines up, you know, let's see here. It's tripod. It's going to line up like this, right? So these corners, right? So remember, this is like another window or a door that was here, and then it's gonna flip over the other way. Okay, and I'm gonna glue that down. Okay, so that's that. So that's my first shape. We're gonna do a lot of shapes. You're gonna do many shapes. Okay, I got it. So that's step one. So that's the first one. So now this piece still comes up, right? It still comes up, and because I need to make my next shape. So we want to have a decent amount of shapes. Let's see, how many did this student get? This student did a lot. This is like the perfecto-ness. Let's see what she did. We got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like 9, 8 or 9. Yeah, so I mean that's what you want to do. They almost got it. They got an extra small one in there. Like I should have done one more. I was too lazy. So I could have even done a smaller one and flipped it over. It would have looked a lot better. So that's what we're going to try to do on our next one. Okay. So well, now I'm just going to do, I don't know, a different shape. Let's see. Again, I want to kind of fill in. I'm just going to do, I want to do like an angular one this time, a different one. So let's see. I'm going to do. Now you want to kind of make sure you have enough space to fit. Now I got a lot. Yeah, I'm going to be okay. But you might want to kind of think about your measurement, right? Like you don't want to do like a super long one if it's going to go off your page. You can kind of imagine how much you've got. Okay, so let's see. I want to do kind of like an angular one. So I'm going to kind of go maybe like an explosion. They're kind of like that. Now that one's big enough where I can do an indoor, another one, and maybe a second one. We want to try to do at least 3 windows on each shape. This one only had 1. Started off easy. Okay, now remember, I didn't glue this down, right? I didn't glue this down, but I do have my marks to tell me where it goes. I'm going to cut out my shape, flip it over, cut out another shape, flip that over, cut out another shape, flip that over. I'm going to glue those in place. I'm not going to glue this down because I still have other shapes to cut out, right? Okay, but I have my shape there. I'm going to cut it out. And you want to think different kinds of shapes too. Like this one was kind of smooth and round. This one's going to be, it's more angular. This one's more angular, kind of like a little explosion, right? You want to have a variety of different kinds of shapes. You can have like round with sharp edges. You can have round inside sharp edges. Whatever. Just be creative and try to think of different things to do. They can look like stuff if you want. Maybe you want to try to do a heart, but then maybe you want to do like some kind of shape inside a heart. You can do like a cross or whatever you want. I mean, do a cross inside a heart. That'd be like appropriate for our school, but you could do any kind of shape you want. It's up to you. You don't have to do that. Okay, so I cut it out. Okay, so that's my first window or door. So again, so here it is. You kind of, let's see, oop, it's like this. Okay, so I would flip this over. Okay. Then I want to have another shape in here. I got to go around the tripod. Let's see, I'm just going to make it similar. Okay. And I have enough space for another one, so I want to fit as many of them as I can. So I'm going to cut this out now. I don't have a lot of room here. I guess I can try to cut around the tripod. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is not cool. If only you could see my tripod in my way, you would feel bad for me. Okay, got it. Okay, so I got to line them all up again. Let's see here. See, sometimes they get kind of turned around, so make sure they... That's why we haven't glued down our big main rectangle yet, right? That's kind of in position. We can kind of line up our other shape. Let's see, is this the correct one? Yeah. Let me make sure I get this thing correct too. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to flip them both over. Actually not. I can just leave that one there. Normally I would so I could flip this over. Normally I'd flip this over too and then flip it back, but I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, there it looks good because it's going to flip back over anyways. Okay, that's good. I still have a lot of space in there, so I'm going to cut another shape out. So let's see. Maybe I want to do, I don't know. I guess I'll just do another one of these. I was going to say maybe I can do like a round one. Nah, I can do a fourth one. You want to do as many as you can. Okay, if you can do another tiny one, go for it. I'll show you that other student example. Hers was like really sweet. Okay, I'm gonna cut this out over here this time. Remember, if you use a pencil, draw super lightly because you don't want to see those pencil lines. You could just cut the shape out if you're careful, but if it's a complicated shape, you might just need to draw it. You might feel more comfortable just drawing it. But then once everything's glued down, you want to carefully very lightly, try to erase those pencil lines. Oh, it's going to fall apart. Let's see, I'll try not to make that happen. Okay. Okay. Is this correct? I think it is. Okay. This one's like this. It's gonna flip over, and I'm gonna do one more shape. I'm just gonna do, I don't know, just a tiny little triangle-y flare to get maximized. I want to maximize my positive and negative space. Don't be lazy. Let's see. Okay, got it. So this one's gonna be. So again, you imagine this was a door. It opened this way, kind of line it up. It's getting kind of tricky. And then this little piece flips back. Okay. That's crazy. I know, and it's really neat. And it's not that hard to do. Okay, but now the tricky part is I got to glue all this down. And I got a tripod in my way. Let me see if I can move this over. So I don't have to go around the tripod. Okay, so this piece gets glued down first. Let's see here. Getting too much glue. So I kind of got a lot of glue. Like, see that little blob there? You don't want blobs like that. So again, I'm just going to use the orange tip to kind of move that stuff around. So you don't just have like one big blob in an area. You want to do this neatly. Normally, students use too much glue. There, that looks pretty good. Okay, so this was going to be like this. Now again, I line up my square rectangle to these corner marks, right? Okay, then this thing's going to be glued first. I very carefully put, oh man. Okay. It's delicate, so take your time. Okay. Then I'm going to glue this one down. Flip it over, get some glue. Elmer's glue works best. You just don't want to use too much of it. Can't stress that enough. Don't glob it on. But don't, let's see. That's pretty good, but you're probably thinking that might be globby. I know, so I'm going to just use the orange tip, kind of move it around. If you use a glue stick, make sure you, like, I would get a separate piece of paper and then like glue it, because you don't want to get glue stick all over your background. But if you have another sheet of paper, you can like kind of put it on, and then the excess glue will be on that extra piece of paper, and then you can glue it down. But I don't know, Elmer's glue works pretty good. Hopefully you have Elmer. If you don't have Elmer's glue, glue stick. And if you don't have Elmer's glue or a glue stick, you should go get some. Say, hey mom, let's go to Target. My daughter loves going to Target. I bet you do too. I bet your parents hate taking you to Target because you're going to want to buy all kinds of stuff, and they don't want to buy you the stuff. But if you don't have glue or a glue stick at the house, that's a pretty legitimate request. Okay, so now I'm going to glue this piece. So you just glue these down. Think of them as windows that fold over. Okay, don't need a lot of glue. Okay, I'm going to glue this thing down. Okay, and this one. Okay. Notice that they line up on each other, right? Like those corners, those little corners connect. Notice how this piece kind of goes, I don't know, that way a little bit. It's because this piece was going that way. It's like a mirror. So this one's going this way, that one's going that way. And so all these pieces are glued down, except for my big rectangle. My rectangle comes up. I can cut out another shape and then glue this down. So this final piece, this will be the last piece you glue. We'll talk about that next week. But that's going to be it. You're going to so you know, you're going to do a couple more shapes. Boy, mine are running out. Okay, my pieces are really big, right? So it'd be nice to have like 7 or 8 different shapes coming off from our rectangle. But my shape is really big. It's like, especially this big curvy one, it's going to be hard to like, maybe I can do one right here, but maybe it won't be so big because this one is so big. But we want to try to use as much of this rectangle as we can. So we want to get half of this done. So you want to do at least 4 of these for this week. Next week we'll do a couple more. We'll try to finish it off. This piece is so big, I probably should have cut another piece out of this. Like I could have done another shape like that. Maybe I can peel it up and cut that piece out. I can cut this piece out and then glue it over here. It'll fill the space a little more. So anyways, that's what you want to do. So you want to do two more of these shapes, and you want to flip them back and forth. Flip those pieces. You want to get at least 2 or 3 of these little things, as small as you can go. Remember, let's look at this one. This one looks really good. Let's check it out. So here for this arrow one, it's not super big. So she was able to get like this extra little arrow, but she probably couldn't, that's pretty thin. She couldn't really get much more than that. Let's see, this thing kind of looks like a clover. she cut out that, and she only has one in there, so that's pretty good. But that's pretty detailed. This piece, she has like a kind of a wavy kind of curve, and then she has, I don't know what this thing is. It's like looks like broccoli. But then she put a little T in there, a T. So she got an extra one in there. Here she got it. Here's a little Christmas tree kind of. So sometimes, oh, I love this little hook one. That's a real nice piece right there, that little hook. So try to be inventive, kind of try to come up with some interesting things. She could have put something here. She could have maybe done a, she could have put a, boy. Well, she didn't. She could have maybe cut out a shape on the inside and then glued that in here. It's a little tricky. That's why she didn't do it. It's because it was kind of this corner. Like it wasn't like a big blobby piece that she can cut out from the middle. She kind of couldn't because there was a tip there. But she could have maybe cut out another little arrow in the middle. I don't know, I leave it up to you. But you want it to be as detailed as possible. So that's pretty good. You can tell the difference between these. These are pretty detailed shapes. This one's pretty detailed. This one's not too detailed, it's too simple. So I think I'm gonna go back and try to cut out this piece. It's kind of hard to do once it's glued, but maybe I can peel it up a little. I don't know if I can. I'll try. But that's it. So for homework, you want to do, hopefully don't do my shapes, do your own shapes, right? So hopefully you have some different shapes. But you're going to draw them. Do 2 more shapes. You know, you can make them up. They can be whatever you want them to be. But let's get half of this done. Next week we'll finish off the rest of it. We're going to fold them over, glue them. We'll work on this. So we have 2 weeks to work on this. And then our final thing to glue down, don't forget, is this piece. And this is going to be really flimsy. There's going to be all kinds of pieces cut out, and there'll be parts of it cut here. But you know to line it up on these corners, and you'll just kind of put it here, and you'll just glue it down. Okay, but we'll do that next week. Okay, so that's it. So have fun doing this. Don't forget to put your name on the back of your paper. I don't think I put the name on mine. So put your name on the back. Put the letter of your class. So let's see. This is 5th grade. If you're Johnson, you'll put a J, circle it. If you're Vervelde, V, circle it. Coolmaze, K, circle it. Yeah. And that's it. That's all we're doing for this week. So don't forget, we're working on this for 2 weeks. So don't turn it in at the end of this week. Wait for next week. We'll do work on it some more. Everything's finished. After the 2nd week, then you'll turn it in. Okay? Anyways, that's it for this week. So have a good week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.